Hello, my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. I recently wrote an article about the leading causes of premature death. And even the Medical Association, being it of United States or England, they agree that number one cause of premature death are cardiovascular diseases. Then second, cancer. And the third one are medication-induced problems. Well, since we are talking about cardiovascular diseases as a primary cause, the thing is that they are also mostly induced by the medical care. Not maybe directly by doctors' work, but by suggestions. What we suggest to eat, what we suggest to drink, everything is going to lead to cardiovascular problems. Okay, so now, cardiovascular, what does it mean? Problems with heart and blood vessels. So if we look here, what the expert opinion says, it says that cardiovascular problems are primarily caused by atherosclerosis. Now, atherosclerosis is the buildup of tiny plaque or through blood vessels. Well, what causes the buildup? And why it happens in humans and doesn't happen in animals, in wild animals, domestic animals? We know that we feed domestic animals incorrectly, and same as us, they are going to have same problems. But in nature, animals don't die from cardiovascular problems. And there are a variety of theories brewing around and being promoted as why this plaque and stenosis, arterial stenosis, narrowing of arteries, passages for blood, why they occur. And again, everything is incorrect, what is being said. Blame is put on cholesterol, and this is why cholesterol is always being checked in the blood. And if it's higher cholesterol than what the soyence, not science, soyence tells us, it means that the cholesterol is going to be causing these problems, and we have to attack the cholesterol production in the body. Why do I say soyence? Because it's not science, it's not based on truth, it's based on lies, it's inverted. It's a typical Kabbalah job. Again, not to be surprised, because the knowledge and the whole medical soyence or science is based or controlled by Rockefeller Foundation. And you are talking Kabbalah. And we know that they always invert everything. And so this is very visible in medicine. This is why the popular medicine, the Kabbalistic medicine, the Rockefeller medicine, I don't call it medicine, I call it medicine. And their science is not science, it's soyence. It's their interpretation. So, why atherosclerosis occurs in blood vessels? It doesn't matter how much cholesterol you have in the blood, atherosclerosis will occur. Being it, if you are old, usually it's in older people, and doesn't matter how high the cholesterol is, there will be occurrence of atherosclerosis, of the buildup. A lot of this buildup is also calcium, and not only calcium, but other salts involved, and glued with cholesterol, of course. Why that? Well, we know one thing. We know that if you have an alkaline area and you have minerals present, minerals are going to sediment. Calcium will sediment. We always have plenty calcium in the blood, but we also have all kinds of salts. Blood has about 9 grams of salt per liter, and there are a variety of salts, 12 different types of salts, but almost all the minerals, everything what you find in seawater, you will find also in blood plasma. It means in blood. So, why does this sedimentation occurs in elderly and does not occur in young? Although then now we can find atherosclerosis developing in younger and younger people. I have a friend, he is early 40s, already signs of atherosclerosis. Well, one thing that they don't teach us in the medical school that is very important, this is why they don't teach us, is that there is polarity in the body. I made a video about it, I wrote articles about it, but again I was asked to explain the situation, so here we are. On the surface, every organism is basically charged positive, which means the surface of the skin will be positive. So the other side of the skin, the interior, lower part of the skin, is going to be negative. Everything that is in that field, which means underneath the skin, is going to be charged negative. This means the exterior part of blood vessels is going to be charged negative. Why? Because if it will be charged positive, it would adhere to the skin. So that things do not adhere one to another, in the same plane, everything will be the same polarity. So what is underneath the skin, which means the upper surface of organs, of arteries, of tissue, is going to be negative. And if the upper part is negative, so if upper part of the blood vessel is negative, the inner part is going to be positive. This is very important to understand, because when the inner part is positive, everything that floats in the blood, it has to be also positive. Because if it would be negative, it would adhere to the blood vessel. So everything, and this is why in the blood we have salts. So you have positive and negative ions. But what is salt? Salt is when positive ions bonds electromagnetically with the negative one. And overall, they are going to have slight a positive field. So, everything that is in the blood, also it is going to be positive. When we have high voltage, And when we have a good flow of electricity through blood, then whatever floats in the blood, also it is going to have strong magnetic field around it. So if it is positive, the positive field will be strong, which means the particles are going to repel. And not only that they will repel from each other, they are going to repel from the wall of arteries and veins. Nothing will touch nothing. And we have very fluid blood. When there is a problem with voltage or problem with conductivity, then it's like putting a dimmer switch on. The electrical field in the blood goes down, which means that the electromagnetic field around particles diminishes, and little pressure, heart pumping, it is going to make blood particles come closer to each other. When field is strong, you touch one particle, the magnetic field between is going to already push the other particle and the other particle. So everything moves. As electric field is getting lower, electromagnetic field drops. You have a closer and closer proximity, and this causes groupation of the cells. They group together. They are one pushes on the other. So you feel every time the heart contracts, you have groups of cells flying through. Well, now you know. The problem is small electromagnetic field around particles, which is all to do with low voltage. Electricity, electrical voltage is what we call energy. What we know in people who have this problem, they always feel tired. They cannot concentrate. Often they are in pain because, again, not adequate voltage is being delivered to particular areas, and result is pain. So you can have a small amount of cholesterol. If the voltage drops, electromagnetic field shrinks. Now you are going to have contact, and not only contact, since blood is always alkaline. Now you are going to have sedimentation problems. There is no repelling. So calcium starts sedimenting on inner layer of blood vessels. And of course, cholesterol is sticky substance. It smears over it because, again, we know that calcium are crystals. So surface become rough. Cholesterol gets stuck. And you get formation of a layer that is rigid. Now, the stretching, contraction, and expansion of the arteries is less able to occur, which increases the blood pressure. Because usually when in systolic action, when heart contracts, the increased pressure is being dampened by arterial stretching. But artery that has accumulated plug on it cannot stretch. So the pressure in it increases, and then it takes a long time to decrease as well. So you have elevated systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Now, why there's a problem with voltage? A variety of things. We know that brain is the biggest user of electricity, so and brain becomes the most active when we are in fear, and we are put into fear all the time. So this is big drain on electrical on electricity in the body. But also our cells function like batteries. So when they have a correct acidity, not alkalinity, cells are inside of the cell, the plasma in the cell, the gel in the cell is slightly acidic. And it's necessary because this is what allows it to hold electrical charge. Same like a battery. Whatever we invent, it's based on biology. So we know that a car battery, if it is low on liquid, if you put pure acid in it, the battery doesn't work. Cannot be overly acidic. If you just put distilled water, also will not work. That's why you have measuring devices to add proper amount of acid and proper amount of distilled water to get the proper electroconductivity that is going to actually work in a cell, or in this case in a cell of a battery, to hold the electric charge. If the acidity increases or decreases, the cell will not be able to hold the charge. It will be leaking electricity out. Or older we get, the more dehydrated we get on a cellular level. Cells cannot cleanse. Most of the stuff that they have to cleanse are acids. So they become overly acidic. Overly acidic cell cannot hold the charge. So their charge depends on constant supply of electricity through blood. More toxic is the blood. It is like having resistors there. Blood does not deliver enough electricity when it's toxic, when it's dirty. So now the cells start failing. We are going to have a problem. When cells are dehydrated, we know they become acidic, toxic, they become brittle, they lose tension because they drop voltage, and the property of organs that they form change. Blood vessels lose the strength because blood vessels have muscles in them. Muscle cell, when it's dehydrated, then the muscle itself loses tension and becomes brittle. So it can break easily. This is cause of the aneurysms and in blood vessel. In the stomach muscle, hernia. In intestines, diverticulitis, diverticulums. All when the muscles, the flat muscles within the organ break, rupture or split. Why? Because cells are dehydrated and acidic. So now you see that blood vessels start failing. Now, How do we know that this is happening in humans, for example? Varicose veins. Because veins are delivering blood to the heart. So whenever heart goes in systole, when it compresses, then the blood in a vein that in color that is bringing blood to the heart will drop, and there will be always a problem in circulation. So the blood cannot drop down. Veins, not arteries, only veins, have valves. They are like skin creases within the lining of the veins. And when blood goes towards the heart, it easily goes through them. They open. But when heart compresses and blood would go down, the folds stop blood from coming down. So they only allow blood to go in one direction, and then they close, up, 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 so blood cannot go backwards. But when you have a problem of cellular dehydration and a weakness that this produces in organ, now in lining of the blood vessel, you may have several of these valves collapsing. They just bent and flip down, and blood goes down to the one that is still holding. And you have one area, it starts small and then larger and larger and larger area where blood gets trapped because too many of these valves malfunction. And we see this as accumulation of blood. The whole vein starts getting wider because it creates pressure, it's accumulation. And this pressure is constant. And since also the muscles of the vein are fragile and they lost tension, it all starts increasing in volume. And you get your varicose veins. Of course, doctors do, oh, well, we chop it up, no, this is not healing. This is patching job. The healing is you have to repair the valves. How do you repair them? Same as with the heart. You have tricuspidal valve in the heart that closes when heart pumps, not to allow the blood to go from the ventricle into atrium, not to go backwards, to go only in one direction to push the blood into aorta. So the tricuspidal valve closes, but the valve is also like a flap. And if there is dehydration going on a cellular level, not just blood level, but cellular level, well, what happens with the tissue? What happens with the fruits when they dry? They show creases. Well, same happens with the valves. You see uneven edges. What happens with the tongue? Uneven edges. Cellular dehydration. So, the blood starts leaking backwards. And murmur starts occurring. And if changes are not being made in hydration and diet, this gets worse and worse. In medicine, usually, when that happens, well, you already have, this is a later stage, you already have high blood pressure for a while because blood vessels don't function well. So now the heart is dealing with higher blood pressure at the same time. And the valve itself may start failing and prolapsing. And heart will compensate. So starts making extra beats just to compensate for the failure. Now we blame it, oh, we got a slow the signaling of the heart. They got to do that. No, heart is working perfectly, but it is working as best as it can with this damage it has. What do? Lower blood pressure. Lower blood pressure, less pressure in the heart, less seepage it goes. Okay, we are meant, you see, we are allowing you to have a better quality life, because this cannot be cured. Well, nobody talks about curing, we are talking about healing. And to heal this, yes, you can heal it. I have helped many people with this problem, simply through hydration. But cellular hydration, which is different than blood hydration, because you can eat whatever you want and drink whatever you want, but if you drink water with sea salt or diluted seawater, you are going to bring plasma in that the body can use and start throwing garbage from the blood out. But there will be still toxins floating in if you're eating incorrectly, and they will prevent cellular hydration, because cellular receptor is going to be scanning the blood, and it will refuse hydrate if there is something that deemed to be toxic for the cell. So you drink coffee, you can drink seawater just plain, and you will not hydrate on a cellular level, because coffee will not allow you. It's not only coffee. It's all the phenols in there, tannins, whatever else is in there, that's plant poison. And basically all plants have toxins for their own protection, and if nothing else, they are going to interfere with cellular hydration. So the main thing here, what I'm trying to explain, that everything we are being told, and I'm talking to you doctors, to your colleagues, I know that very few of doctors are watching what I say, because they don't want to hear anything new. They're not interested, because they think they know everything, because, you know, they are new generation. Now we know more than before, which is bollocks. Doctors before knew way more than they know today. They actually knew how to help the body. Now, everything that is being done contra the body, just to camouflage the symptom. So everything is strictly symptomatic, which causes more poisoning and faster deterioration. Oh, we say, no, but he lives 70, 80 years. We extend life. No, not extending life. Before, people lived normally 110, 120 years. Normal. You go to any village in the mountains in Croatia, you will find people living at least 100, 110 years. And same is with in Turkey, in Greece. Just go out of the city, go away from the soyence and the new generation of scientists, all based on fraudulent Rockefeller science. Veggies, veggies, veggies. You eliminate that, you go back to eating correctly, eat your meat, and you will see problems disappear. And also hydrate correctly. And before, people knew that seawater is medicine. Shamans, they use salt for cleansing. This is old knowledge, but it is suppressed. It has disappeared. And contrary, fear is created, so everybody fears salt. So here I'm trying to explain that number one reason for premature death in humans is soyence. Soyence of madsin, promoted through doctors and scientific or scientific literature, because it's all inverted science. If you want to know more, then check my articles. There are plenty of articles, and I'm sure in many of my old videos you will find similar information. And also, any so-called disease, if you are uncertain, just go and to my articles and just in a search engine just put the name of the disease. I did not cover all diseases because they are making new diseases every day or changing names of diseases. So, but after you read 3 or 4 different chronic health issues and you learn truth behind them, you will start seeing what is wrong in our society, especially in our medical society. Doctors are brainwashed. Now, I am one of them. I'm a veterinarian, but still the medical field. And I was brainwashed until I opened my eyes, and with the help from within, I start getting the information about the truth, how things work. So, if you have any health issue, run away from doctors. They are not equipped to help you. Go to healers. Go to shamans. They still remember. Although a lot of their work is also skewed with this wrong science because it hits them too. So, but at least they know that number one thing, in no matter what disease is in question, is purging, cleansing. They don't do cellular purging, they do basically blood, superficial purge, but enough to make you feel well or better. And then you have to repeat it every year or twice a year to keep feeling well. Otherwise, you start going back because on cellular level, this was not addressed. And as soon as blood is clean, cells start absorbing fresh lymph and plasma, or whatever you want to call it, blood, and shoot out the toxic stuff. And within a month, the blood is as toxic as it was before the purge. Okay, my friends, so at the end of every video is a link to my site. People will very often ask me, so where do I find the information? Well, nobody watches to the end of the video, unfortunately. But there is a link and you can go to my site and find the information. If you need guidance, don't be a stranger. If I have time, I'll guide you. Thank you for being here and having the courage to listen to information that is contradictory to just about everything that you hear out there. Love you all. Namaste. God bless you.